What if you could eliminate a pain that's been bothering you for years with just a few simple foods? The question hung in the air like a cloud of uncertainty, catching Elon Musk off guard. He paused for a moment, staring blankly at the screen in front of him. It wasn't the numbers of a new SpaceX mission or a groundbreaking Tesla innovation that occupied his thoughts now. No, it was something much more personal, a problem that had been bothering him for months. Leg cramps. It seemed trivial. After all, Elon Musk was a man who had changed the world in ways no one else had even dreamed of. He'd helped send humans to Mars, revolutionized the auto industry, and had a hand in countless other ventures. But despite all the monumental achievements, there was one thing that consistently interrupted his life: leg cramps. The excruciating, sudden pain that would shoot through his muscles at the most inconvenient times. During important meetings, in the middle of a workout, or worse, in the dead of night when he was trying to sleep. Musk wasn't the kind of man who took discomfort lying down. He faced the most impossible of challenges head-on, whether it was engineering electric cars that could outperform their gas-guzzling counterparts or developing reusable rockets. Yet, this simple yet painful ailment felt like something beyond his control. It wasn't something that could be solved with a few tweaks to his schedule or a quick fix from his usual arsenal of solutions. But what if the answer was simpler than he thought? He could feel the familiar cramp creeping up his calf again, the muscles tightening painfully. He cursed under his breath, trying to stretch his leg as subtly as possible. This time, the pain was worse, deeper, more insistent. He leaned back in his chair, rubbing his calf with a grimace. The question that had been bouncing around in his mind for the past few days suddenly felt more urgent than ever: could there be a way to stop these cramps from ever happening again? The thought of food crossed his mind. He had read countless articles, consulted health experts, and tried every possible remedy from stretching techniques to over-the-counter medications. Nothing worked. But could a simple change in his diet, something that didn't require complicated science or a breakthrough in technology, actually make a difference? Elon Musk wasn't one to shy away from unconventional thinking. After all, his entire career had been built on defying expectations and challenging the status quo. He had questioned whether electric cars could replace gas-powered ones, wondered if private space exploration was possible, and even looked into the possibility of human colonies on Mars. So why not try the unorthodox approach to his leg cramps? It wasn't that Musk had a deep love for food, he simply saw it as fuel for the body, necessary but not particularly exciting. Still, the idea of looking at food as a potential cure for something as persistent as leg cramps piqued his curiosity. It could be something so simple that no one had thought of it before. Sitting in his office, the dim light of the computer screen casting a cold glow on his face, he tapped his fingers on the desk, deep in thought. The more he thought about it, the more the idea seemed to make sense. His body, like the rockets he built, needed the right fuel to function at its best. Maybe he wasn't giving it what it needed. Why not? He muttered to himself, a faint smile curling on his lips. Musk had faced impossible odds before and come out victorious. This wouldn't be any different. With a burst of energy, he grabbed his phone and began searching online, reading through health blogs and articles. It didn't take long for him to stumble upon a surprising thread. There, in the most unlikely of places, he found a mention of 3 foods, simple, everyday foods, that, when combined, could potentially stop leg cramps forever. Elon's skepticism was high. After all, he had tried countless remedies before, from potassium supplements to drinking more water, and none had worked. But these foods, something about them stood out. Maybe it was the scientific reasoning behind the claims, or perhaps it was just the fact that the solution was so unexpected. Musk's mind raced as he began formulating a plan. What if this was the answer he had been searching for? The simple, elegant solution he had always sought for the toughest challenges. He couldn't resist. It was time to test the theory for himself. Let's see if these foods can really make a difference, he said to himself, tapping the phone with newfound determination. He was no stranger to testing out unconventional theories, whether in the world of science or business. Musk had built entire companies on the premise of bold, untested ideas. This, though, was personal. His leg cramps had been a constant companion, never allowing him to truly rest or function at his best. He couldn't afford to keep ignoring it. But what did these three foods even have in common? Could they really target the root of his leg cramps? He had a hunch they might. It wasn't about any single ingredient, it was the combination of these foods that held the promise of real change. If it worked, he could finally say goodbye to the pain that had haunted him for so long. The next morning, as the sun began to rise over the horizon, Musk set out to find these three foods. They were deceptively simple, nothing like the high-tech innovations he usually surrounded himself with. It was a humbling reminder that sometimes the answers to life's biggest challenges didn't come from complex formulas or cutting-edge technology but from the simplest of places. He stopped by a local grocery store, scanning the aisles for the ingredients. The three foods were surprisingly common: bananas, sweet potatoes, and spinach. Musk raised an eyebrow as he picked them up, putting each item into his basket. These weren't rare superfoods or exotic supplements, just simple, everyday ingredients that he could easily incorporate into his diet. As he left the store, he felt a sense of excitement, but also skepticism. Could this really work? Could these three humble foods really make a difference in his battle with leg cramps? The answer, he realized, was only one way to find out. He began to plan his next steps, committing to a week of eating these three foods regularly. It wasn't a guarantee, but it was the best chance he had to find a solution. As he drove back to his office, he couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope, a hope that, just like his previous ventures, this too would be something worth pursuing. He was used to the impossible, and maybe, just maybe, this would be another adventure that changed his life, and possibly the world, forever. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Elon Musk's story wasn't always about electric cars, space exploration, or artificial intelligence. Before all the fame, the innovations, and the world-changing ideas, there was a young boy named Elon who had his own struggles. A boy who was curious, restless, and constantly seeking to understand how things worked. Born in Pretoria, South Africa, Musk's childhood was a mixture of wonder and isolation. He was the eldest of three children in a family that was often described as intellectually driven, but also somewhat distant. His father, Elon Musk, was an electromechanical engineer, and his mother, May Musk, was a model and dietitian. Elon inherited their sharp minds and love for learning but struggled with the social side of growing up. As a young boy, Elon was fascinated by technology and the future. He spent hours reading science fiction books, imagining a world beyond the one he knew, a world filled with possibilities and challenges that he could one day conquer. His curiosity led him to learn how to program at the age of 12, creating a video game called Blaster and selling it for around $500. But as much as he loved technology, he found it difficult to connect with other children. His classmates would tease him for being different, and his passion for reading and learning made him an easy target for bullying. This isolation shaped Musk in ways that would influence his later life. It gave him a fierce determination to prove himself, not to others, but to himself. It also ignited a sense of resilience that would later help him endure the countless obstacles he would face as an entrepreneur. Musk had always been the type to internalize his challenges, never showing weakness, even when it seemed like the world was stacked against him. By the time he was a teenager, Musk's inner drive had only grown. He knew that his future would take him far from the streets of Pretoria. He didn't just want to change the world, he wanted to reshape it entirely. But his childhood wasn't all hardship. It was also filled with moments of brilliance, quiet, personal triumphs that built the foundation for the man he would become. One of his earliest memories of personal triumph was when he took on a huge project as a young adult. At the age of 17, he left South Africa to pursue his dreams in Canada, attending Queen's University. But it wasn't just for a better education, Elon was already thinking about the bigger picture. He knew that North America was the place where the future was being shaped, and he wanted to be at the forefront of that revolution. In the years that followed, he transferred to the University of Pennsylvania, where he completed degrees in both economics and physics. He was learning the principles that would later fuel his ventures in space and technology, but there was always a part of him that still felt that old, familiar isolation. Even in the midst of his success, there was something in him that longed for more, something he couldn't quite place. Despite his growing reputation as a tech visionary, the battles within him remained. He continued to deal with physical challenges that often went unnoticed, nights spent tossing and turning with leg cramps that wouldn't stop. It was a reminder that no matter how high he climbed, some things were beyond his control. In fact, Musk had always struggled with his health. He was notoriously known for pushing himself to the limit, often working 100-hour weeks without taking breaks or listening to his body's warning signs. His intense work ethic, though an asset in the corporate world, had taken a toll on his body. Leg cramps were just one of the symptoms of a much larger issue. Musk wasn't taking care of himself. He was so consumed with his vision for the future that he often neglected the basic, foundational aspects of life: sleep, nutrition, and relaxation. But these cramps were more than just a physical nuisance. They were a manifestation of something deeper, a sign that despite all his achievements, Musk was still human. And like every human, he had limitations. For years, he pushed through it. A few hours of sleep here and there, a quick fix for the cramps, and he kept going. He was a visionary, after all. The world's most successful entrepreneurs weren't known for taking time off. They were known for pushing boundaries, for seeing what others couldn't see, for achieving the impossible. But as the leg cramps worsened, so did the toll on his body. There were nights when he could hardly walk because of the severe pain, and days when he struggled to focus on the tasks at hand. The cramping didn't just affect his sleep, it affected his work, his ability to focus on his company's biggest projects, and even his time with family. Musk knew that if he didn't do something soon, his physical health would begin to affect his mental health, and the future of the companies he had worked so tirelessly to build. He needed a solution. In his search for answers, Musk reached out to medical professionals, trying to find a cure for the cramps that would keep him grounded. Doctors prescribed him various treatments, from muscle relaxants to stretching techniques, but nothing seemed to work. It was at this point that Elon realized he might need to take a different approach. If the traditional methods weren't working, then maybe it was time to think outside the box. It was time to look for answers in places that were often overlooked, even by experts. And that's when it hit him. The solution might not be found in the world of high-tech gadgets or expensive treatments. It could be as simple as looking at what he was putting into his body, the food he ate. Could the answer to his leg cramps lie in something as mundane as a diet change? The idea seemed absurd at first, but then again, so did the idea of landing a rocket on a drone ship in the middle of the ocean. Nothing Musk had done in his life had been predictable. And maybe, just maybe, the solution to his recurring leg cramps would come from the most unexpected of places. So, Musk set out on a new kind of mission, one that had nothing to do with Mars or electric vehicles but everything to do with his own well-being. It was time to dig deep into the science of food, to experiment with his own body, and to find the right combination that could end his leg cramps forever. And as he stood at the crossroads of his health journey, Musk realized something important. Sometimes, the greatest discoveries didn't come from rockets or AI, they came from looking at life in a different way. This journey would be no different. And so, it began. Elon Musk sat in his sleek, modern office at Tesla, surrounded by blueprints, rocket models, and the buzzing hum of innovation. But today, he wasn't thinking about rockets or electric vehicles. He was thinking about leg cramps. A strange and somewhat humbling shift, but one that had become impossible to ignore. The kind of pain that would seize his legs in the middle of a meeting, causing him to wince in front of colleagues and guests. It wasn't something that could be fixed by simply working harder or smarter, it was something far more personal, and that gnawed at him in ways no business challenge ever could. The cramps had been growing worse over time. They were no longer a rare inconvenience but a frequent, excruciating part of his daily life. Musk had always prided himself on his ability to handle stress, work through pain, and push forward no matter the obstacles. But these cramps were something different. They weren't physical challenges he could power through with sheer will. The sharp, stabbing pains shot through his calves, seizing his body with an intensity that rendered him helpless, if only for a moment. And those moments were starting to add up. His mind raced as he reviewed his options. He'd already tried stretching techniques and over-the-counter remedies, each one more frustratingly ineffective than the last. His muscles weren't simply cramping, they were reacting to something deeper. Musk felt a familiar, unsettling sense of frustration. For a man who had broken countless barriers, from space travel to electric vehicles, the idea of being stumped by something as simple as leg cramps felt almost embarrassing. It wasn't just a small inconvenience anymore. The cramping was robbing him of his ability to focus, work long hours without distraction, and even enjoy the rare moments of peace he could carve out in his schedule. During a recent late-night brainstorming session with his team at SpaceX, he had felt the familiar tightness creep into his right calf, only to have it flare up with such force that he had to pause mid-sentence, trying to suppress the pain with a controlled grimace. His team had noticed, of course. Musk was always quick to mask his emotions, but his discomfort was hard to hide in those moments. That night, when the cramps subsided, his mind raced. If he couldn't figure this out, would his body become an obstacle to his success? For someone like Musk, who had put everything into his companies, it was a serious question. He knew the weight of his body's signals. They weren't just random irritations, they were telling him something. It was a moment of clarity. Just as he had once sought out the secrets to revolutionizing the auto industry and space travel, maybe it was time to tackle this problem the same way. Start from scratch. Question everything. Dissect the problem until the solution emerged, no matter how seemingly trivial. But what if this solution didn't lie in a lab or with a team of engineers? What if it was something as simple as food? The thought had struck him like a lightning bolt a few days ago. He'd been reading through health articles, some of them on obscure blogs, when he saw an unexpected recommendation: 3 common foods could help eliminate leg cramps for good. It sounded too simple, too out of place to be the answer he was looking for. But Musk was no stranger to unconventional thinking. The idea of finding a solution in something so mundane intrigued him. Could these foods be the key? As skeptical as he was, Musk couldn't dismiss the possibility. There had to be more to it, there had to be some scientific reason behind it. And so, despite his doubts, he'd made the decision: he would test the theory himself. His leg cramps weren't just annoying. They were a warning sign, something that signaled a deeper issue, whether it was dehydration, lack of nutrients, or a deficiency that he wasn't even aware of. The challenge wasn't just about ending the pain, it was about gaining back control. But the more Musk thought about it, the more his thoughts spiraled into a familiar place: self-doubt. Could something so simple as changing his diet really make a difference? Was he just grasping at straws? Here he was, the man who had made it to Mars, revolutionized electric cars, and reshaped entire industries, and now he was looking for answers in food. He rubbed his temples, trying to shake off the feeling of vulnerability. There were no high-tech solutions here, no sophisticated machinery to break down the science, just a few everyday foods that could hold the key to his future well-being. He needed to do this right. He needed to give it a real shot. Musk had spent so much time pursuing complex, revolutionary ideas that he often forgot how to slow down and listen to the simpler things in life. This was one of those moments. Perhaps in the simplest of solutions, he'd find the peace he'd been craving. The 3 foods in question were bananas, sweet potatoes, and spinach, each of which had a reputation for being rich in nutrients that could help reduce muscle cramps. Potassium, magnesium, and calcium were all cited as vital nutrients that could play a role in preventing muscle spasms. Musk wasn't unfamiliar with these terms. He had heard of potassium being beneficial for muscle function before. But could these foods, combined, really make a lasting difference? After all, food had always been an afterthought for Musk. He was notorious for his erratic eating habits, often skipping meals to get more work done, relying on energy drinks or quick snacks to get through his hectic days. He'd never given much thought to how his diet could directly affect his body's performance. In his mind, fuel was fuel, nothing more, nothing less. But now, he had to reconsider. For the next few days, Musk committed himself to incorporating these foods into his meals. Bananas as snacks, sweet potatoes in his lunch, and spinach on the side of his dinner. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't the cutting-edge, futuristic solution he was used to finding. But it was something simple, something grounded, and perhaps it was exactly what he needed. The first few days felt like an experiment more than a solution. Musk didn't expect miracles overnight. But with each passing meal, he began to notice small changes. His body felt slightly different, as if it were being nurtured rather than pushed. He didn't feel the usual tension that accompanied his grueling work days. It wasn't much, but it was something. Still, there was an underlying uncertainty that nagged at him. The questions loomed large: would these foods really stop the cramps? Or was this just another dead end in his long line of attempts to solve the unsolvable? Was he about to face another failure? Musk couldn't afford to fail, not on this. Not when something so simple could finally make a difference. He'd faced down some of the world's most daunting challenges, and now, this battle, this personal battle, was his to win or lose. Would these foods work, or would he find himself back at square one? He didn't know. But one thing was certain: this journey, however unconventional, was just beginning. As the days passed, Elon Musk began to notice subtle changes. His usual morning routine was no longer interrupted by the stiff, sharp pain that often seized his legs. The cramps that used to paralyze him in the middle of a conversation or halt his progress during long nights of work seemed less frequent, less intense. At first, he chalked it up to coincidence, or maybe just wishful thinking. But as the weeks went by, there was something undeniable about the difference. The bananas, sweet potatoes, and spinach, three simple foods, seemed to be making a real impact. The change was slow, gradual. But that was how most of Elon's breakthroughs worked. Nothing had come easy in his life, and this was no different. When he started this journey, he had been skeptical. He had doubted that a shift in his diet could really resolve such a deeply ingrained issue. But here he was, sitting in his office late one evening, stretching his legs under the desk without feeling the familiar pang of discomfort. It wasn't a miracle. It wasn't a perfect solution. But it was a start. Musk didn't waste time wondering whether or not this was the answer. He wanted to know why. Why were these foods working? What was happening in his body that was allowing him to live without the constant fear of cramping? He wasn't a nutritionist, but he had the resources to dive deeper into the science behind it. So, he did what he always did: he researched. He learned about the power of potassium, an essential nutrient that helps maintain muscle function and fluid balance in the body. He dove into magnesium's role in regulating muscle contractions and preventing spasms. And then there was calcium, which was known to be crucial for muscle relaxation. Each of these foods, bananas, sweet potatoes, and spinach, were rich in these nutrients, offering his body what it needed to function optimally. It was starting to make sense. It wasn't about eating the perfect meal. It was about providing the right balance of nutrients that his body had been craving but not receiving. Musk wasn't used to this kind of discovery. He was a man of technology, of big ideas and revolutionary projects. When it came to tackling issues, he usually approached them from a highly analytical, data-driven perspective. But this was different. This was personal. It wasn't just about creating the next big product or changing the world. It was about improving his own well-being, ensuring that he could keep pushing forward in all his endeavors. But just as things seemed to be moving in the right direction, an unexpected obstacle presented itself. One afternoon, after a full day of meetings and tests at SpaceX, Musk felt the familiar tightness in his calf again. At first, it was mild, just a little warning, a nudge from his body that he was pushing himself too hard. But as the minutes ticked by, the discomfort intensified. It wasn't the full-on cramping he was used to, but it was enough to cause concern. He knew his body. This was more than just a sign of exhaustion. It was a message that something wasn't quite right. Musk sat back in his chair, rubbing his leg, and the thoughts flooded his mind once again. Was the change in his diet really enough? Was it possible that the imbalance he had ignored for years wasn't something a few food items could fix? Had he missed something crucial along the way? Frustration began to creep back into his thoughts. He had worked so hard to find a solution, and now this nagging doubt. But Musk wasn't the kind of person to give up easily. The most successful ventures he'd undertaken had come not from giving in when things got tough, but from the relentless pursuit of solutions, even in the face of setbacks. The cramps were an obstacle, yes, but they were not the end of the road. He would continue. He would adapt. He would conquer this. So, he started thinking in a new direction. Musk decided to combine his new dietary adjustments with some of the things that had worked for him in the past. He had always believed in data, in testing and adapting as you go. If the food alone wasn't enough, maybe he needed to incorporate more active self-care, more mindfulness, into his routine. He began to focus on stretching, dedicating a few minutes each day to elongating his muscles in a way he hadn't before. He brought in low-impact exercises to strengthen his calves and hamstrings. And at night, he took the time to relax, even using some of the tools that many of his employees swore by: foam rollers, heating pads, and even a quick meditation session to ease the tension. It wasn't long before Musk began to notice that the combination of diet and self-care was working. Slowly but surely, the cramps were becoming a distant memory. He felt lighter, more agile, more in control. And even though he still had the occasional tightness, it was far less frequent and much less intense. But Musk didn't stop there. This was his journey, after all, his opportunity to explore new frontiers in health and wellness, just as he had in every other field. So, he kept refining his approach. He added more variety to his meals, experimenting with other nutrient-rich foods that might help. He consulted with experts, read more medical journals, and even spoke with other entrepreneurs who had faced similar issues. He learned that taking care of his body wasn't a one-time solution, it was an ongoing process, a lifelong commitment to well-being that would fuel his success for years to come. The cramps had not just been a physical problem. They had been a wake-up call, a reminder that even the most successful people need to take care of themselves. And through all of this, Elon Musk had learned a valuable lesson, that sometimes, the most important journeys are not the ones that take you to space or to the cutting edge of technology, but the ones that take you within yourself. For the first time in a long time, Musk felt a sense of peace, a quiet, profound relief that he had found a way to conquer a personal battle. The physical relief from the cramps was just the beginning. Now, he was ready to take on whatever came next, with renewed energy, focus, and purpose. It was a rainy evening in late fall when Elon Musk felt it. The familiar tightness in his calf had returned. But this time, there was no panic. No frustration. No rush of anxiety flooding his thoughts. Instead, he felt an odd sense of calm. His body had been telling him for weeks now that it was working, that the changes he'd made were making a difference. But here it was again, a small reminder that nothing is ever truly fixed. Musk sat at his desk, staring out of the window at the sheets of rain that blurred the line between the sky and the earth. It was one of those moments when everything seemed to stop, when you realize that you've been holding your breath for far too long. And yet, in this brief moment of stillness, Musk could feel the weight of it all, the discomfort, the struggle, the journey that had brought him here. The cramps hadn't completely disappeared, but they were manageable now. That was a victory. In a way, Musk had learned to accept the uncertainty of it, to acknowledge that even the best solutions weren't perfect. Maybe it wasn't about solving every problem completely, he thought, but about learning to adapt, to be flexible. And in that moment, he realized something even deeper. His struggle with leg cramps had, in a strange way, become a metaphor for his life. Musk had always prided himself on his ability to tackle the impossible. Rockets? Check. Electric cars? Check. Colonizing Mars? Almost there. But this was different. This was personal. The cramps were not the worst thing that had ever happened to him. Not even close. But the frustration they caused, combined with the helplessness of not being able to just fix it, was something he hadn't experienced before. And yet, as with everything in his life, he had found a way to push through. He had adapted. Musk reflected on how many times he had experienced something similar in his career, obstacles that seemed insurmountable at first, failures that appeared impossible to overcome. SpaceX had nearly folded multiple times due to failed rocket launches. Tesla had come dangerously close to bankruptcy when production issues threatened to destroy the company. And yet, each time, he had found a way to move forward. To persist. To innovate. That same drive, that relentless determination, was what had brought him here, sitting in his office, legs stretched out under his desk, thinking about his next move. The cramps were still there, but they didn't have control over him anymore. He had reclaimed that power. But it wasn't just about his body. The emotional weight of his journey through this process had changed him in ways that were not immediately visible. Musk wasn't the type of person to open up about personal struggles, and the idea of showing vulnerability was something he had always avoided. The world saw him as a man of vision, a leader who never seemed to falter, who never gave in. The idea of struggling with something as basic as leg cramps, something so ordinary, seemed trivial compared to the larger challenges he faced. But in reality, it was an essential part of his growth. As he thought about his own journey, he realized that his struggle with cramps was symbolic of his approach to all problems. He had always dealt with them the same way, relentlessly. He had tackled them head-on, no matter how personal or difficult. In the past, his solution to every problem had always been to work harder, push further, never give in. But this time, the answer had come from a different place: patience, self-care, and nourishment. He had spent so much time focusing on the future, on what was next, that he had forgotten the importance of living fully in the present. The body needed attention, care, and rest, just as much as the mind and spirit did. As Musk stretched out his legs, feeling a slight twinge in his calf, he closed his eyes and reflected on the fact that this journey had led him to a crucial realization: the solution to his problem didn't come from the outside world, whether that was technology, science, or innovation. It came from within. It came from taking the time to listen to his body, understanding its signals, and learning how to nourish it properly. For the first time in a long while, he didn't feel the need to fight against his own body. For so long, Musk had been driven by the desire to make history, to revolutionize industries, to solve problems that others deemed impossible. But now, he found himself driven by something more fundamental: the need to be whole, to be healthy, and to find balance in his own life. The cramps, the frustration, the fear, it had all led him to this point of clarity. He remembered the early days of his career, how everything had seemed so chaotic, so uncertain. Every step forward had felt like a battle. But Musk had learned something important through those battles, that even in the hardest times, even when progress seemed impossible, there was always a way forward. Now, as the rain continued to pour outside, Musk finally stood up and took a few steps around the office. The slight discomfort in his calf was still there, but it didn't matter. He had a plan now. A strategy. And more importantly, he had learned something valuable about the relationship between body and mind, about how the smallest changes could create the most profound effects. The journey wasn't over. It wasn't perfect. But Musk had come to terms with the idea that perfection wasn't the goal, growth was. And growth, as he had learned, was a process. In that moment, Elon Musk felt a quiet satisfaction, no loud triumph, no grand gesture. Just a steady, inner peace that came from knowing that he had found a solution to his problem. Not just through food, not just through willpower, but through a deeper understanding of himself. It was a realization that would not only change how he approached his health but how he approached every challenge in life moving forward. He smiled softly to himself, his mind already shifting to the next problem to solve, the next challenge to face. But for now, he had peace. He had found the balance he needed. The months passed, and Elon Musk's routine had changed in ways he never anticipated. The cramps, once a constant source of frustration and pain, had become an afterthought. In their place was a sense of well-being that Musk had never fully appreciated before. His work, his projects, and his personal life had all benefited from the new approach he had adopted to care for his body. Musk knew that his journey toward relief from the cramps wasn't just about finding the right foods or stretching routines, it had been about discovering a deeper understanding of himself. The insights he had gained along the way had shaped his perspective in a profound way. He had come to understand that success wasn't just about innovation or technology, it was about balance, resilience, and listening to the needs of his body and mind. He had always been known for his relentless drive, the way he pushed himself and those around him to accomplish the impossible. His ventures into electric cars, space exploration, and artificial intelligence had made him a household name. Yet, in this personal battle with leg cramps, Musk had discovered something new about the limits of his own body and the importance of self-care. He had pushed himself to the edge for years. But now, he understood that in order to push the boundaries of the world, he first needed to understand and respect his own physical and mental limits. It was a lesson that applied not just to his health but to every aspect of his life. As Musk sat at his desk one morning, reviewing plans for a new SpaceX mission to Mars, he paused for a moment. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. For the first time in a long time, he allowed himself to savor the stillness. There was no rush. No sense of urgency. Just the quiet satisfaction of having conquered one of his personal battles. It had been a journey, one that had required not just determination, but a willingness to change, to listen, and to adapt. He had tried many things before, diet changes, exercise regimens, medications. But it wasn't until he stopped trying to force a solution and allowed himself to truly reflect on his body and mind that the answer had come. The cramps weren't gone entirely, but they no longer ruled his life. He could move freely, no longer chained to the fear of a sudden, excruciating spasm in the middle of an important meeting or while working late into the night. His legs were no longer a source of pain but a reminder of the progress he had made, not just physically, but emotionally. Musk thought back to the first days when he had felt that sharp, nagging pain in his calves. He remembered how desperate he had felt, how much he had struggled to find an answer. It seemed so trivial, almost embarrassing in retrospect, how something as small as leg cramps had managed to throw him off course. But now, with a deeper understanding of his body, he realized that those cramps had been a blessing in disguise. They had been a wake-up call, a reminder that even someone as focused and driven as him could not ignore his own well-being. His body had been sending him messages, and he had ignored them for far too long. But now, he understood. He understood the delicate balance between mind and body, between pushing limits and respecting them. He had found the key to both. And that key was simple: self-care. Patience. Balance. Listening. Musk thought about the future, about the next big challenge he would take on. There was always something on the horizon, always another mission to complete, another goal to reach. But now, he knew that taking care of his body, both physically and mentally, was just as important as taking care of the projects he spearheaded. His body wasn't a machine to be pushed beyond its limits, it was a tool to be nurtured, respected, and maintained. He thought about all the times in his life when he had pushed forward, relentlessly, without pause. And he realized that while ambition and drive had fueled many of his greatest successes, the true key to long-term achievement was not just in working harder, but in working smarter, listening to what the body and mind were telling him. Musk stood up from his desk and stretched his legs. The discomfort in his calf had long since faded into nothingness, but the memory of those painful moments remained. It was a memory that served as a reminder that even the smallest of problems, the ones we often dismiss, could lead to unexpected growth. He smiled to himself, knowing that this journey had changed him in ways he hadn't anticipated. It had made him realize that the pursuit of success wasn't just about grand ideas or world-changing projects. It was about learning to balance the chaos with moments of peace. It was about acknowledging that the most important projects we work on are often the ones that no one else sees, the quiet, personal ones that shape us from within. Musk glanced at the clock. Another meeting awaited him. There was always something else to do, always another challenge to tackle. But today, he felt more at ease than ever before. He had learned the importance of slowing down, of listening to his body, of making room for self-care amid the constant drive to change the world. The cramps might return one day, nothing was guaranteed. But Musk was no longer afraid. He had the tools to manage them, to adapt, and to move forward, no matter what challenges lay ahead. The lesson had been learned. True success wasn't just about overcoming obstacles, it was about growth, adaptation, and understanding the deeper connections between mind, body, and spirit. As he walked out of his office, ready to face whatever came next, Musk felt confident in his ability to meet it with a renewed sense of balance and strength. This chapter in his life had taught him more than he ever could have imagined, and he was ready for whatever came next. The next few months brought an unexpected wave of positive change. While the leg cramps had not entirely disappeared, Musk noticed something else happening that he hadn't anticipated. The improvements in his physical well-being began to translate into his professional life. His mental clarity, once clouded by constant discomfort, had sharpened. He found himself thinking faster, making decisions more efficiently, and even approaching problems with a newfound sense of calm. Musk had always been one to push boundaries, whether in the world of electric vehicles, space exploration, or AI. But he now realized that his relentless pursuit of innovation had come at a cost. He had neglected his body, focusing so intensely on the future that he had forgotten to care for the present. The breakthroughs in his health were not just related to the cramps, they were about reclaiming his vitality, his energy, and his focus. In fact, his newfound approach to health had opened his eyes to something even more profound, the interconnectedness of mind and body. It wasn't just about eliminating a physical ailment. The changes he had made, dietary shifts, mindful stretches, taking time for rest, had improved his ability to handle stress, made his mind more agile, and even boosted his creativity. Ideas that once seemed impossible or out of reach began to flow more naturally. One of the first things Musk noticed was how much more effective his leadership had become. In his earlier days of managing Tesla and SpaceX, he had often been described as a force of nature, charging ahead with incredible energy and an unyielding drive. But this often led to burnout. Both for him and his team. Now, he approached challenges with a different mindset. He no longer believed that the key to success was solely in working harder, it was about working smarter. He began to prioritize the health and well-being of his employees as well, creating a company culture that placed more emphasis on balance and sustainability. SpaceX's new project, the colonization of Mars, was still moving full steam ahead, but this time, Musk felt more centered. He knew that in order to change the world, he needed to first be at his best, both physically and mentally. And so, he dedicated himself to practicing the lessons he had learned about taking care of his body and mind, not just for himself but for his entire team. During a strategy meeting at Tesla, Musk found himself discussing the long-term vision of the company. His thoughts were clearer than ever. The company had faced numerous obstacles, from production delays to financial crises, but now he could see the path forward with unprecedented clarity. He had often been reactive in the past, responding to crises as they arose. But now, he was thinking several steps ahead. The mental fog that had clouded his decision-making for years was lifting. His colleagues at Tesla and SpaceX had noticed the change as well. Where Musk had once been a whirlwind of activity, moving from one task to the next without pause, he was now more deliberate. He took time to listen, to reflect, and to ensure that every decision was thought through carefully. The transformation was not just physical, it was philosophical. Musk had learned to prioritize not just the mission but also the people who were helping to bring that mission to life. But it wasn't just the work environment that had shifted. Musk had also noticed an improvement in his personal life. He had always been a workaholic, constantly pushing himself to new heights. Relationships with friends and family had often taken a back seat to his ambitious projects. Now, he made time for his loved ones, carving out space in his schedule to be present for them. His relationship with his children, in particular, had deepened. Musk had always been a devoted father, but he now realized how much his own well-being affected his ability to be there for them. The time he spent with his children was more meaningful, more present. He was no longer distracted by discomfort or stress. He was able to engage with them in a way that felt grounded and authentic. But perhaps the most surprising benefit of all was the way that his health improvements had influenced his creativity. Musk had always prided himself on his ability to think outside the box, to come up with solutions that no one else could. But the mental clarity he experienced now was something entirely new. The ideas that once required long hours of struggle and contemplation now flowed effortlessly. He would wake up in the morning with fresh ideas, ready to be implemented. He could solve problems in his sleep, literally. His mind was more agile, more creative, and more capable of seeing connections that others missed. In many ways, it was like a new door had opened in his brain. The physical discomfort that had once occupied so much of his attention had been replaced by a profound sense of calm and focus. His body had given him the energy and the clarity to think bigger, faster, and better than ever before. Musk found himself with more energy to dive into projects that had previously seemed daunting. He tackled challenges at SpaceX with renewed vigor, knowing that his team was relying on him to guide them toward Mars. And at Tesla, he worked alongside his engineers to innovate new ways to make electric vehicles more accessible and efficient. But this time, there was no rushing through the work. He took the time to breathe, to plan, and to ensure that every step taken was one that would push humanity forward, sustainably, thoughtfully, and with purpose. On a particularly quiet evening, Musk sat at his desk, reflecting on how far he had come. The Cramps, once a constant source of misery, now felt like a distant memory. In their place was a new understanding of balance, of how taking care of himself allowed him to take better care of his businesses, his teams, and his vision for the future. The changes he had made were subtle, but their impact had been profound. He closed his laptop and looked out the window, the stars twinkling in the night sky. The journey to Mars was still a long one, but Musk felt more confident than ever that humanity could make it. The future was bright, and he was ready to face it, not as a weary, overworked individual, but as someone who had learned to harmonize the drive for success with the need for self-care. The journey wasn't easy. It never was. But Musk had learned that, sometimes, the key to achieving greatness isn't just about pushing forward at full speed. It's about knowing when to pause, to reflect, and to recalibrate. And in that recalibration, he had found not just relief from his cramps, but a deeper understanding of what it meant to be truly successful. Elon Musk's transformation had started as a personal journey, one centered around overcoming leg cramps. But as he continued to refine his health routine, a surprising thing happened: the changes began to have a ripple effect, far beyond his own life. His newfound focus on balance and well-being started to influence not just his work at Tesla and SpaceX but also the culture within both companies. It wasn't just about eliminating pain anymore. It was about fostering a culture where people weren't just expected to work tirelessly, but also to take care of their bodies and minds. The people Musk worked with had always been highly driven, often working long hours to meet demanding deadlines and achieve seemingly impossible goals. But Musk began to realize that the pressure and stress of that work could be counterproductive in the long run. He began introducing small changes to the workplace culture. SpaceX's engineers, who had once spent countless hours bent over blueprints and working on spacecraft components, were now encouraged to take short breaks, practice stretching, and even walk outside for fresh air. Tesla's design team, known for its high-intensity environment and 24/7 focus on electric vehicle innovation, started receiving wellness tips and invitations to mindfulness sessions. It wasn't about changing their drive or work ethic, it was about acknowledging the importance of rest and recuperation in order to sustain long-term success. Musk also started sharing his own journey with his employees. He spoke openly about his struggle with leg cramps, explaining how it had forced him to reassess his physical and mental well-being. "It's not just about working harder," he said during one of his internal team meetings. "It's about ensuring that our minds and bodies are in the right shape to continue pushing boundaries, to continue innovating. If I can take a step back to care for myself, so can you." The response was overwhelming. Employees, who had once felt like they were expected to sacrifice their health for the sake of the company's mission, began to see a shift. They were encouraged to take time off when needed, not just to recover physically, but to reset mentally. Mental health became just as important as meeting deadlines. And the results were profound. Productivity at both Tesla and SpaceX began to rise in ways Musk hadn't expected. Employees who had been running on fumes, feeling burnt out from long hours and intense pressure, were suddenly more engaged, more energized, and more committed to their work. There was less absenteeism, fewer instances of burnout, and a noticeable improvement in the creativity of the teams. The most remarkable change, however, came in the form of innovation. With Musk's emphasis on balance, many engineers and designers found they had more mental clarity and focus. The creative ideas that had once been buried under layers of exhaustion and stress began to surface. It was as if a fog had lifted. SpaceX engineers, for instance, suddenly found innovative solutions for the Mars colonization project that had previously seemed insurmountable. Tesla's team came up with breakthrough concepts for improving battery efficiency, and new strategies for expanding the global reach of electric vehicles were rapidly developed. But it wasn't just about making more progress. It was about making better progress. Ideas were being refined faster, tested more thoroughly, and executed with greater precision. The companies were no longer rushing to meet deadlines or racing against the clock. Instead, they were working smarter, more thoughtfully, and with a sense of purpose that hadn't been there before. Musk watched this transformation unfold with quiet satisfaction. He had always believed that innovation was at the heart of everything he did, but now he understood that true innovation came from a place of well-being, not exhaustion. By focusing on health, balance, and taking time for recovery, his teams were more capable of thinking creatively, taking risks, and pursuing bold new ideas. He saw this same shift occurring in his personal life as well. With his health in check and his mind clearer than ever, Musk found himself re-evaluating how he spent his time outside of work. Family dinners that had once felt like a distraction from his work became a priority. He spent more time with his children, talking to them, listening to their stories, and finding new ways to be present in their lives. He realized that his well-being extended beyond the walls of his companies, it affected the people closest to him. One evening, as Musk sat in the garden of his home, he reflected on just how much his life had changed. The leg cramps that had once consumed his thoughts now seemed like a distant memory. In their place, he felt a sense of balance, a deeper connection to both his work and his personal life. He thought about the future, the missions to Mars, the ongoing development of electric vehicles, and the technological advancements that would shape humanity for generations to come. But now, he saw a clearer path forward, one that was not built solely on the grind of non-stop work. Instead, it was built on the understanding that the greatest breakthroughs came when the mind and body were given the space to recharge, to recover, and to grow. At SpaceX, the team had just completed a significant milestone in the Mars colonization project, a breakthrough that would push the mission one step closer to becoming a reality. Musk stood before the team, ready to announce the achievement. But before he did, he took a moment to reflect on the journey that had led them here. This was not just a victory for technology or innovation. This was a victory for the people who had worked tirelessly behind the scenes, for the people who had found a way to do their best work without sacrificing their well-being. He looked at the team with pride. This isn't just about getting to Mars. This is about how we get there, together. By taking care of ourselves, we're ensuring that we can continue pushing the limits of what's possible. And that's how we make the impossible possible. The team erupted into applause, not just for the technical achievement but for the realization that the future they were building was one that valued their health, their creativity, and their long-term success. As Musk left the meeting, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The journey to Mars would continue, and the road ahead was long. But now, more than ever, he understood that the foundation of his success, of the success of his companies, was not just about relentless work. It was about balance, resilience, and ensuring that everyone involved was in the right state of mind and body to continue reaching for the stars. As Elon Musk's new approach to health and well-being continued to transform his companies, it began to reverberate outside of Tesla and SpaceX, reaching far beyond the walls of Silicon Valley. News of the changes Musk had made to his personal life, and the impact it had on his leadership, began to spread. It wasn't just the groundbreaking innovations or the ambitious goals of sending humans to Mars that garnered attention, it was his shift in priorities toward balance and well-being that caught the world's eye. Musk, ever the visionary, recognized that his personal journey could have a larger impact. He had always talked about humanity's future, about making life multiplanetary, about sustainability, and about solving the world's biggest problems. But now, Musk realized that before society could face those enormous challenges, it needed to address the basic foundations of health, mental and physical well-being. At first, it started as a conversation among his employees. Musk had given them the tools to better care for themselves, to work smarter instead of harder. But the benefits soon became apparent outside the company as well. As more and more Tesla and SpaceX employees began sharing their stories of personal transformation, how their health had improved and how their work had become more meaningful, others started to take notice. It wasn't long before media outlets picked up the story. Publications ranging from tech magazines to health blogs began to cover Musk's decision to focus on well-being. The narrative quickly grew from a corporate wellness initiative to a larger societal movement. Articles, documentaries, and podcasts emerged, documenting not just Musk's journey but the ripple effect that his decisions had created in the business world. Musk was approached by global health organizations, companies in various sectors, and even governments. They were intrigued by the connection between his leadership style, his health practices, and his success. What had once seemed like a personal experiment now appeared to be a model for how the modern workplace could evolve. The conversation was not limited to Silicon Valley or the tech industry. It spread to industries across the globe, from healthcare to education to entertainment. The common thread was clear: if companies wanted to truly innovate, they needed to put their employees' well-being at the forefront. The question that many people began asking was no longer just, how can we get more out of people, but how can we help people perform at their best? For Musk, this was an exciting development. It was an opportunity to take the principles he had learned in his personal life and apply them on a global scale. He began to speak at conferences about the importance of health and wellness in the workplace, urging leaders to prioritize mental and physical well-being as part of their corporate missions. One of his most well-received talks was at the World Economic Forum in Davos. In front of a room full of business leaders, tech moguls, and policymakers, Musk shared his personal story. He talked about the crippling leg cramps that had once ruled his life and how they had led him to rethink his approach to success. He discussed how a balanced lifestyle, not just for himself but for his teams, had led to more productivity, more innovation, and a healthier work environment. The real innovation, Musk said in his speech, isn't just in what we create, but in how we create it. We can't keep pushing people to the edge without expecting consequences. The future isn't just about technology, it's about the people behind the technology. If we want to make it to Mars, we have to make sure we're taking care of our people here on Earth first. His words resonated deeply. A panel discussion followed, where business leaders from across the world shared their own challenges with burnout, overwork, and the stress of modern life. Many of them had seen firsthand how neglecting the well-being of employees led to high turnover rates, loss of creativity, and stagnant growth. Musk's call for change was not just a personal philosophy, it had become a roadmap for companies everywhere to follow. Around the same time, Musk's companies began to implement even more progressive wellness programs. SpaceX began offering on-site fitness centers for employees, yoga classes, and mindfulness workshops. Tesla's engineers were encouraged to explore creative outlets outside of work, such as art or music, to stimulate the mind in different ways. The impact was profound, employee satisfaction skyrocketed, and productivity reached new heights. The quality of work and innovation in both companies was stronger than ever. But it didn't stop there. Musk realized that for true change to occur, he would have to engage with the larger issue of societal well-being. He began to invest in programs that promoted physical and mental health in underserved communities, using his wealth and influence to support initiatives that aimed to improve healthcare access, promote mental health awareness, and encourage healthier lifestyles. He partnered with global health organizations to fund research into the effects of stress, burnout, and chronic health conditions on productivity and creativity. He also invested in startups focused on developing wearable technologies that could help people track their health, reduce stress, and improve their sleep patterns. Musk, who had always pushed the boundaries of technology, now saw the value in using innovation to address the very problems that technology could sometimes exacerbate: overwork, stress, and the growing mental health crisis. Musk's influence spread beyond business and health sectors. His ideas began to infiltrate educational institutions, where professors and administrators began rethinking their approach to student well-being. The concept of wellness was incorporated into curricula, with universities offering more resources for mental health and work-life balance. Meanwhile, as Tesla's success grew and SpaceX made significant strides toward Mars, Musk's personal life continued to benefit from his commitment to balance. His relationship with his family grew stronger, as he spent more quality time with his children and was able to enjoy his personal life without feeling the weight of constant pressure. His evenings were no longer filled with endless work. Instead, he'd sit down for family dinners, read with his children, and even take quiet walks in the evening, reflecting on how far he had come. The changes Musk had initiated at his companies, in his personal life, and in the global business culture began to paint a picture of a new kind of future, one where success wasn't defined solely by how hard you worked, but by how well you took care of yourself and those around you. And as Musk continued to blaze new trails, both in the world of technology and in the world of leadership, he realized that the most profound innovation had nothing to do with rockets, electric cars, or AI. It had to do with creating a world where everyone, regardless of their profession or status, had the opportunity to live healthy, fulfilled lives. As Elon Musk's personal and professional life transformed, and as the ripple effect of his wellness-driven leadership began to take hold, a new challenge emerged: how to maintain the balance that had brought him so much success. The demands on his time and energy were only growing. SpaceX's Mars mission was moving forward at a rapid pace, Tesla was scaling to new heights, and the media scrutiny surrounding him was intensifying. Despite the triumphs and the growth, Musk found himself once again facing a familiar adversary: the pressure to achieve more, faster. It seemed that every time he reached one milestone, there was another even more ambitious goal waiting in the wings. The early days of the wellness changes had been exhilarating, but maintaining that delicate balance required constant effort. The demands on his attention and energy were endless, and the temptation to slip back into old patterns of overwork was ever present. Musk began to realize that the path to true balance wasn't a one-time achievement, it was an ongoing journey. In his quieter moments, he reflected on the lessons he had learned over the past year, and he could see how quickly the old habits of overwork could creep back in. Despite his personal commitment to taking care of his body and mind, the weight of his responsibilities often threatened to tip the scales. One evening, after a particularly long day of meetings and strategy sessions, Musk sat in his office at SpaceX, staring out over the vast expanse of the company's headquarters. The stars above seemed to mock him, a constant reminder of the grand mission of space exploration that always loomed on the horizon. His phone buzzed with another series of urgent messages, and he found himself mentally preparing for the hours of work that still lay ahead. In the midst of it all, Musk felt a familiar strain in his leg. It was subtle at first, just a tightness in his calf, but it quickly escalated into a familiar ache. He realized that, despite all the changes he had made in his life, he had slipped back into old habits. His focus had once again shifted toward work, leaving little room for the self-care that had become so crucial to his well-being. He stood up and stretched, trying to relieve the discomfort in his leg. He knew that he had to take action, but the pressure to keep moving forward was overwhelming. The stakes felt higher than ever. The future of humanity's potential to colonize Mars, the development of sustainable energy through Tesla, and his other projects all depended on his ability to keep pushing forward, to lead the way, to set an example. Yet, as the pain in his leg reminded him, the price of ignoring his health was too high. He had already seen the consequences of burnout and stress, both personally and within his companies. He couldn't afford to go back to the dark place he had been before, when physical pain, stress, and exhaustion had clouded his ability to think clearly or make strategic decisions. It was time to recommit to the journey of balance. Musk realized that, just like with his companies, the key to long-term success wasn't about constantly pushing harder. It was about sustainability, about finding ways to keep his mind and body healthy in the long run. That meant creating space for recovery, even when the world around him demanded more and more of his attention. The next morning, Musk took a step back from his hectic schedule. He canceled several meetings and made time for a personal check-in. He called his personal trainer and set up a morning workout, something he had neglected for a while. He spent a few hours on his personal health, doing stretches, practicing mindfulness, and taking a walk outside. He didn't just focus on his physical well-being, he made an effort to reconnect with the people who mattered most to him, his children, his family, and his close friends. For the first time in weeks, he felt like he was breathing again. The leg cramps that had once plagued him seemed like a distant memory, replaced by a sense of calm and focus. As he resumed his work, he felt more energized and clear-headed than he had in days. The experience reminded him that health wasn't something that could be fixed once and then forgotten, it had to be actively maintained, nurtured, and cared for, every day. Musk also recognized that maintaining balance required a different mindset. It wasn't just about managing time, it was about managing energy. He couldn't be everywhere at once, and he had to be strategic about where he focused his efforts. He began to delegate more tasks, trusting his teams at Tesla and SpaceX to take on more responsibility. He also started to recognize the importance of rest, not as a luxury, but as a necessity for continued performance. By giving himself permission to step away when needed, Musk found that he was able to return to his work with renewed focus and clarity. This new approach had a profound effect on his leadership style. He was no longer the frazzled, always-on CEO who demanded the impossible from his employees. Instead, he became a model of self-care and resilience. He encouraged his teams to take their own health seriously, to set boundaries, and to remember that they were not machines but human beings with physical and mental limits. Musk's experience became a lesson not just for his employees but for the world. He showed that success wasn't about working non-stop, burning the candle at both ends. It was about finding harmony between work and rest, between striving for greatness and taking care of the people who made that greatness possible. As the months passed, Musk continued to refine his approach to balance. He introduced new wellness initiatives at Tesla and SpaceX, focused not only on physical health but also on mental well-being. His commitment to a balanced life became more than just a personal philosophy, it was a blueprint for a new kind of leadership, one that would shape the future of both business and society. While the demands of his mission to make humanity a multiplanetary species would never go away, Musk now understood that in order to succeed, he had to first take care of himself and those around him. It was a lesson that, in time, would make all the difference, not just for him, but for the people who followed him on his journey to the stars. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? As Elon Musk continued to cultivate a balanced approach to life, the changes he implemented in his personal and professional life began to inspire an entire generation of innovators, entrepreneurs, and thinkers. The shift toward prioritizing well-being became more than just a leadership style, it became a movement. The story of how Musk, once known for his relentless work ethic, had embraced self-care and mindfulness struck a chord with people across industries. In the years following his personal transformation, Musk became an advocate for a new paradigm of leadership. He started giving talks at universities, tech conferences, and industry summits, where he shared his experiences and insights. His message was clear: in order to build a successful and sustainable future, whether that future was on Earth or Mars, society had to prioritize the well-being of its people. One of the most significant platforms for Musk's message came in the form of his keynote speech at the annual Tech Innovators Conference in San Francisco. The conference had always attracted some of the brightest minds in the tech world, but Musk's speech that year was unlike any other. Rather than delving into the technicalities of space travel or the latest advancements in electric vehicles, Musk focused on a deeply personal topic: the importance of self-care in an era of constant disruption and pressure. As he stood before the packed audience of entrepreneurs, engineers, and investors, Musk reflected on his own journey. He spoke candidly about the intense burnout he had experienced earlier in his career, the physical pain that had once threatened to derail his work, and the lessons he had learned about balance. He shared how adopting a healthier lifestyle had not only improved his productivity but also his relationships, his creativity, and his overall happiness. True innovation, Musk said during his speech, doesn't come from pushing yourself to the brink. It comes from allowing yourself to recharge, to reflect, and to live with intention. The future we're building is not just about technology. It's about people. It's about creating a world where our well-being is the foundation for everything we do. The reaction was immediate. The room fell silent as the audience absorbed his words. Many of the attendees had grown accustomed to the grind of the tech world: long hours, sleepless nights, and the constant pressure to be first. But Musk's speech offered a new perspective, one that resonated deeply with their own struggles. Young entrepreneurs in the audience were especially moved. They had grown up idolizing figures like Musk, admiring his ability to turn ideas into reality. But they had also witnessed the toll that relentless ambition could take, on mental health, on relationships, and on personal well-being. Musk's message gave them a new framework to approach their careers. It was okay to push boundaries and work hard, but not at the expense of one's health or happiness. Over the next few months, the ripple effect of Musk's speech began to spread. Startups and tech companies all over Silicon Valley started to rethink their approach to work-life balance. Many began offering their employees flexible schedules, on-site wellness programs, and mental health support. Some companies even implemented mandatory breaks, encouraging employees to take time away from their desks to reset and recharge. Musk's influence wasn't limited to the tech industry. His message found its way into other sectors, from finance to healthcare to education. Business leaders in various fields began to embrace the idea that healthy employees were more productive, more creative, and more loyal. Wellness programs became a priority in boardrooms around the world, as companies recognized the value of investing in their people. At Tesla and SpaceX, Musk continued to model this philosophy. He introduced new wellness initiatives for his teams, ensuring that they had the resources to thrive both personally and professionally. Employees were encouraged to take part in yoga and meditation sessions, and access to nutritionists, physical trainers, and mental health professionals became more widespread. One of the most popular initiatives at SpaceX was the Wellness Week, a company-wide event held every year. During Wellness Week, employees participated in activities designed to promote relaxation and self-care, including mindfulness workshops, nature walks, and stress relief exercises. Musk himself took part in these events, reinforcing the importance of health and well-being by being actively involved. But Musk's influence extended even further than the corporate world. He started to speak to schools and universities, where he encouraged students to build healthy habits early in life. At one memorable speaking engagement at Stanford University, Musk told a packed auditorium of students, "Your career will be a long journey. The last thing you want is to burn out before you get to the good stuff. Take care of your mind, your body, and your relationships. The world needs you at your best, not at your most exhausted." Many students left that event with a new perspective on success. They realized that their worth wasn't defined by how many hours they spent working or how much they could achieve in a day. Instead, their potential was shaped by their ability to balance their ambition with their personal well-being. As the years passed, Musk's message about balance became a core principle of modern leadership. It was no longer just about the company's bottom line or the race to create the next big thing. Now, success was measured by how well leaders could build sustainable businesses, ones that nurtured the people who worked within them and created a culture of support, creativity, and well-being. Musk also began to invest in projects that focused on improving access to healthcare and mental health services. He supported initiatives that aimed to make wellness resources available to underserved communities, believing that everyone deserved the opportunity to live a healthy, balanced life. Through his actions and investments, Musk became a champion for a future where technology and well-being went hand in hand. He understood that the most revolutionary ideas often came from people who were grounded, focused, and able to think clearly. By encouraging others to prioritize their health, Musk was building the foundation for the next generation of innovators, leaders, and dreamers. The legacy Musk was creating was not just one of technological innovation. It was a legacy of compassion, mindfulness, and balance. The world was beginning to understand that true progress, whether in business, in technology, or in life, could only be achieved when people were given the tools and support they needed to thrive. And as the next generation of leaders rose up, inspired by Musk's example, they knew that their greatest contribution wouldn't come from working harder, but from living better. Despite Elon Musk's newfound commitment to balance, well-being, and leadership, the road wasn't always smooth. While he had shared his journey toward better health and mental clarity with the world, the struggle to maintain that balance was often unseen. Behind the carefully curated image of the high-energy, forward-thinking entrepreneur, Musk grappled with internal challenges that few knew about. Musk's personality, his drive, his ambition, his constant desire to push the boundaries, remained a powerful force within him. The very traits that made him a visionary in the tech world were also the ones that made his struggle with balance so difficult. Even with his best efforts to care for his body and mind, he often found himself caught between the relentless demands of his work and his personal commitment to wellness. One of the most challenging aspects of this internal conflict was the ever-present fear of losing momentum. Musk had built an empire: SpaceX, Tesla, Neuralink, and the Boring Company, all depended on his leadership and drive to stay at the cutting edge of innovation. The constant pressure to be the smartest, the fastest, the most successful was something that Musk had internalized over the years. He couldn't help but worry: what if the moment he let up, he would fall behind? What if the competition caught up? This fear led to moments of doubt, moments where the pressure seemed too much to bear. There were nights when Musk would lie awake, his mind racing through problems, scenarios, and that next big thing. He would think about the Mars mission, about electric vehicles becoming the standard, about the future of artificial intelligence, and the weight of it all would feel overwhelming. The dreams he had been building for decades seemed to stretch far into the future, but the path was still uncertain. Every failure, every delay, every setback seemed to loom larger when viewed through the lens of his own high expectations. At times, Musk's old habits would resurface. His work schedule would stretch beyond the acceptable, and he would fall back into the trap of believing that if he didn't work harder than everyone else, he would lose everything he had built. There were mornings when he would wake up before dawn to tackle emails and meetings before the world even began its day. He would push himself through physical and mental exhaustion, believing that the sacrifices were just a part of the journey. But as his health continued to be a priority, Musk began to notice the toll that these moments of excess were taking on his body. His leg cramps, which had initially been a minor irritation, were becoming more frequent and intense. The tightness in his calves was no longer just a physical problem, it was a reminder of the larger issue at hand: he hadn't yet found a way to fully reconcile his intense drive with the need for rest and recovery. During one particularly grueling period, Musk found himself working late into the night, preparing for an upcoming product launch at Tesla. The team was under pressure to deliver a new version of the Model 3, and the stakes felt impossibly high. Every detail had to be perfect, and there were still problems to solve. Musk felt the weight of the responsibility, and the stress began to manifest physically. His leg cramps worsened, and he couldn't ignore the growing feeling of fatigue that seemed to have settled in his bones. At the height of the chaos, Musk did what he often did when faced with overwhelming pressure: he pushed through it. He kept working, kept thinking, kept problem-solving. But as he paced the floor in his office late that night, the intensity of the cramps grew. His legs burned with discomfort, and the familiar sensation of helplessness crept in. It was then that he realized he couldn't keep ignoring the signals his body was sending him. He had spent so much time pushing through physical discomfort in the past, but now he understood that it wasn't sustainable. Pushing through wasn't a sign of strength, it was a recipe for disaster. He took a deep breath, closed his laptop, and walked away from the work. For the first time in months, he decided to listen to his body. He left the office, went home, and instead of continuing to work late into the night, he committed to getting a good night's sleep. The next morning, he woke up feeling a little clearer, a little more rested. His cramps were still there, but they didn't seem as insurmountable as before. Musk realized that the battle between work and health was a continuous one. There were moments when it would feel impossible to find balance, moments when he would be tempted to sacrifice his well-being for the sake of progress. But he understood now that true progress required a sustainable pace, not an unsustainable sprint. This realization was a turning point for Musk. He decided that he needed to integrate even more strategic downtime into his routine. Rather than just waiting for the exhaustion to force him into rest, he began proactively building in moments of recovery. He scheduled breaks during long workdays, and started delegating tasks more effectively. He no longer tried to control every little detail, he trusted his team to take on responsibility, knowing that the people around him were just as capable of driving success as he was. He also sought the advice of wellness experts, taking a deeper dive into understanding how stress and recovery truly impacted performance. Musk began to experiment with new methods of recovery, from advanced stretching techniques to guided relaxation exercises. He learned how vital it was to have these tools in place to support his mental and physical health, and he shared them with his team as well. Yet, even as Musk began to embrace more intentional recovery, the challenges of being the visionary behind multiple groundbreaking companies didn't disappear. The pressure to keep innovating, to stay ahead of the curve, was ever present. But now Musk approached that pressure with more awareness. Instead of fighting against his body, he learned to work with it, finding ways to recharge without feeling like he was falling behind. One of the most valuable lessons he took away from this internal struggle was that true leadership wasn't about being perfect or invincible. It was about being honest with oneself and others about limitations and acknowledging that rest was a necessary component of success. By embracing this philosophy, Musk started to model a different kind of leadership, one that was focused on holistic growth, resilience, and the importance of self-care. And although the pressures of his work would never completely dissipate, Musk now felt better equipped to handle them. Because he had learned that taking care of himself didn't just make him a better leader, it made him a better person. Elon Musk had spent much of his life chasing an ever-moving target: success. His ambitions were as grand as the projects he spearheaded: Mars, sustainable energy, revolutionizing transportation, and advancing artificial intelligence. For years, success had been defined by milestones and achievements: the next product launch, the next breakthrough, the next boundary to push. But as he delved deeper into his personal journey of balance and well-being, Musk began to see that the definition of success needed to change. It was during one of his quiet moments of reflection, after a particularly stressful period of deadlines and product rollouts, that Musk found himself asking a question he hadn't dared to ask before: what does success really mean? For most of his life, success had been synonymous with external validation. Public accolades, investor confidence, headlines about his ventures. His companies were seen as models of innovation, his personal achievements were lauded as the result of tireless hard work and persistence. But as his commitment to health and personal well-being grew, Musk realized that these outward markers of success were only a part of the equation. They didn't capture the full scope of what it meant to live a fulfilling life, nor did they speak to the deeper aspects of his humanity. One evening, after wrapping up a meeting at Tesla's headquarters, Musk found himself standing on the rooftop of the company's building, gazing at the city lights stretching out below him. The endless horizon, dotted with the glow of buildings and cars, was a sight he had witnessed countless times. Yet tonight, something felt different. It wasn't just about the bustling world below, it was about what lay ahead in his own life. His thoughts turned inward. He reflected on the years he had spent chasing his vision of changing the world, often at the expense of his own health, relationships, and happiness. He remembered the sleepless nights, the physical pain from his leg cramps, the emotional exhaustion from dealing with the pressure of running multiple high-stakes ventures. The idea that had always driven him, that success could only be achieved through relentless effort and the unyielding pursuit of innovation, now seemed incomplete. Musk had accomplished more than most people could ever dream of. But had he truly succeeded in living the kind of life he wanted? Had he truly experienced fulfillment in its deepest form? As he stood there, deep in thought, a realization began to form within him: success isn't just about what you achieve, but also how you live along the way. In the months that followed, Musk began to shift his focus. He started to redefine success, not by the external accolades or the milestones of his companies, but by the impact his life had on those around him, the quality of his relationships, and, most importantly, his sense of inner peace and fulfillment. He realized that while building groundbreaking companies and achieving monumental goals were important, they would never replace the deeper needs for connection, self-care, and personal growth. Musk took steps to reframe his daily life, striving to integrate the lessons he had learned about balance into every aspect of his work and personal life. He began to view success not as a destination, but as an ongoing journey, a journey that required constant recalibration. It wasn't just about reaching the next milestone, it was about how he handled each moment, how he made time for his health, his family, and his own mental well-being. To Musk, this new approach to success was about quality over quantity. He had always been a visionary, constantly looking ahead to the future. But now, he took more time to appreciate the present, understanding that true success wasn't only about changing the world, it was about learning to live well in it. He began to invest more in relationships with those who mattered most, his family, his close friends, and his colleagues, recognizing that they, too, were integral to his own happiness. As Musk's perspective shifted, so did his approach to leadership. He began to foster a company culture that embraced this new understanding of success. He encouraged his teams to prioritize their well-being, and to focus on creating work environments that fostered creativity, mental clarity, and health. At SpaceX, for example, he instituted wellness initiatives that allowed employees to take mental health days without feeling guilty, and he promoted a culture where collaboration and support were valued just as much as innovation and competition. One of the most visible changes came in the way Musk communicated with his employees. Rather than sending long, exhaustive emails full of expectations, he began to have more personal, one-on-one conversations with team members. He listened to their concerns, celebrated their successes, and ensured that they knew their contributions were valued. This shift helped create a more positive and supportive work culture, where employees felt empowered to not just work hard, but to work smart, with attention to their personal well-being. Perhaps the most profound change came within Musk himself. In moments of quiet reflection, whether while walking in nature or spending time with his children, he realized that the pressures of his past, constantly pushing himself, constantly striving to prove his worth, had faded into the background. They were still there, of course, part of his core drive, but they no longer defined him. Instead of chasing after success, Musk was learning to live it. He knew there would still be challenges ahead, innovations to lead, new projects to tackle, and unexpected setbacks to overcome. But he no longer saw these as defining moments of success. The true measure of success, he realized, was not in the products launched or the profits made, but in the balance he had found in his life. It was in the peace that came from making choices that supported his health, his family, and his sense of purpose. This newfound definition of success also allowed Musk to let go of the constant need to control every aspect of his life. He realized that the fear of failure, of falling behind, was a source of unnecessary stress. While he remained deeply committed to his vision for the future, he also allowed himself the freedom to trust the process, to know that success could come in many forms, and that sometimes, it was okay to take a step back and enjoy the journey. The impact of Musk's transformation rippled through his life. His personal relationships deepened, his companies thrived with a more holistic approach to leadership, and his own sense of well-being became more integrated into his daily routine. What began as a struggle to balance work and health had evolved into a profound redefinition of success, one that focused not just on what he could achieve, but on how he could live and lead with purpose, compassion, and clarity. As Musk looked to the future, he knew that the path ahead would not be without its challenges. But now, he was ready for those challenges with a renewed sense of self and a broader understanding of what true success meant. It wasn't just about reaching the stars, it was about making sure that, along the way, he enjoyed the view. Having come to terms with his redefined vision of success, Elon Musk's next challenge wasn't in the realm of electric cars or rockets, it was something deeply personal, yet far-reaching in its potential, transforming the world of health and wellness. Musk, with his relentless curiosity and passion for tackling the world's biggest problems, began to see how advancements in health could be just as revolutionary as his work in space and technology. The turning point had been his battle with leg cramps, something that, on the surface, seemed trivial but was deeply connected to a larger issue: how do we, as a society, care for our bodies and minds in a world that constantly demands more from us? After all, if the person responsible for creating some of the most innovative technologies of our time struggled with something as basic as physical pain, what about the millions of people who didn't have the resources or knowledge to deal with similar challenges? Musk's health journey had forced him to confront the limitations of current healthcare practices. While modern medicine had its place, Musk began to see that the answers to many of the world's most pressing health problems weren't just in pills or surgeries, they were in lifestyle changes, preventive care, and a more holistic understanding of the body. The root cause of his leg cramps, for instance, wasn't just physical, it was a combination of stress, lack of rest, and poor nutrition. It was something that could have been avoided or mitigated had he known better or had access to the right resources sooner. As he dove deeper into the world of wellness, Musk began exploring new technologies and treatments that could help people live healthier, more sustainable lives. He started looking into supplements, personalized nutrition plans, and ways that advanced technology could be used to enhance physical and mental well-being. And then, he started asking himself the big question: what if I could make this accessible to everyone? Musk's approach to innovation was simple: make it scalable, accessible, and life-changing. He had done it with electric cars. He had done it with space exploration. Why not health? He began exploring partnerships with health and wellness companies and even started meeting with experts in various fields, from nutritionists and wellness coaches to medical researchers and tech entrepreneurs, to brainstorm how he could help revolutionize the way the world approached its well-being. It didn't take long before Musk realized that one of the most significant obstacles to a healthier world wasn't a lack of knowledge, it was a lack of access to the right resources. For many people, health was a luxury, something reserved for those who could afford expensive gym memberships, top-tier healthcare, or personalized nutrition plans. Musk saw a world where everyone, regardless of income or background, could have access to the tools and knowledge they needed to take control of their health. This realization sparked a new mission: to create a wellness platform that used cutting-edge technology to make health and well-being accessible to everyone. Drawing from his experience in building scalable systems, Musk began to envision a platform that could not only educate people about their health but also provide personalized solutions, whether it be nutrition advice, fitness routines, or mental health support. He envisioned an app that could connect users to the best doctors, fitness trainers, and nutritionists around the world, regardless of where they lived. This platform would use artificial intelligence to create personalized health plans, analyze genetic data to optimize nutrition, and even suggest meditation or mindfulness exercises based on a person's current stress levels. It wasn't just about creating another health app, it was about creating a revolutionary health ecosystem that could empower individuals to take control of their well-being in the same way they took control of their finances or careers. Musk knew that this endeavor would be no small feat. It would require not only technological innovation but also a cultural shift, a change in the way society viewed health. People needed to see health as a long-term investment, not just a short-term fix. They needed to understand that taking care of their bodies and minds wasn't a luxury, but a necessity for living a fulfilling, successful life. To kickstart this journey, Musk enlisted the help of some of the best minds in both tech and health. He hired a team of researchers to develop cutting-edge software capable of analyzing vast amounts of health data to create personalized health plans for users. He collaborated with top medical experts to ensure that the platform's advice was scientifically sound and grounded in the latest research. He even partnered with universities to help conduct studies on the impact of these new health technologies. Musk's commitment to transforming health and wellness wasn't just about creating a profitable business, it was about addressing a societal problem that had been largely ignored, the fact that millions of people, worldwide, suffered from preventable diseases and conditions that could be mitigated with the right knowledge and care. He saw a future where health wasn't reactive, it was proactive. People could live healthier lives, longer lives, and more fulfilling lives because they had the tools to understand and care for their bodies in a way that was customized to their unique needs. While his vision was still in its early stages, Musk began to speak publicly about the importance of health innovation. He gave interviews and spoke at conferences, sharing his personal journey and his belief that the next frontier of technology wasn't just about going to Mars, it was about improving life on Earth. He talked about the need to integrate artificial intelligence into health and wellness, and how new breakthroughs in genetics and personalized medicine could completely change the way people viewed their health. As the months passed, Musk's new mission began to gain traction. The platform, which he named WellTech, quickly became a buzzword in both the tech and wellness industries. People were excited by the potential of Musk's vision, an app that didn't just give generic health advice, but created tailored solutions for each individual based on their unique needs and challenges. Musk's foray into health was nothing short of transformative. While he had already achieved so much in the world of technology and space exploration, his shift toward health and wellness marked a new chapter in his legacy, one where he could not only change the world through technology but also improve the quality of life for people everywhere. As the platform took off, Musk was once again faced with the challenge of balancing his personal well-being with his ambitious goals. But this time, the two were no longer at odds. His commitment to health and wellness had become not only a personal mission but a guiding principle for everything he did. Whether it was launching a new company, taking care of his body, or nurturing relationships with those he loved, Musk knew that true success was about the journey, and making sure that every step was taken with purpose, care, and intention. Elon Musk's vision for WellTech, the platform designed to revolutionize health and wellness, began to take shape rapidly in the months following his public announcement. What started as a passion project, a way to integrate his personal experiences with health struggles into something far-reaching, was becoming a real-world solution for millions of people. As the platform neared its launch, Musk found himself in a whirlwind of meetings, late-night brainstorming sessions, and intense focus, all driven by his unwavering belief in the potential of this new venture. WellTech was not going to be just another app in the crowded space of fitness and health. Musk, true to his nature, was determined to make it something entirely different, an integrated ecosystem of health solutions that utilized cutting-edge technology and personalized care. It wasn't just about providing general advice or workout plans, it was about tapping into the future of personalized wellness, powered by AI, big data, and the latest scientific research. The idea was simple: to give users access to health solutions that were tailored to their unique bodies, needs, and lifestyles. The platform would learn from users, adapt over time, and offer actionable insights that could lead to better, longer, and more fulfilled lives. The first step in the process was developing the AI-powered health assistant. Unlike other apps, which simply offered preset advice or generic workout routines, WellTech's AI system would analyze a person's genetic information, activity levels, nutrition habits, and even stress levels to create a truly personalized health profile. This profile would be used to offer tailored fitness regimens, diet suggestions, mental health exercises, and even sleep optimization tips. Musk, as always, was hands-on with every part of the development process. He knew that this platform had to work seamlessly, not just for people who already had a deep understanding of health and wellness, but for everyone, from complete beginners to seasoned athletes. He also wanted the platform to be as inclusive as possible, ensuring that people from all walks of life, regardless of their income or location, could access the tools and resources they needed. As WellTech's team of developers and health experts worked tirelessly behind the scenes, Musk began to speak more publicly about the platform. He participated in interviews and gave presentations at tech conferences, sharing his belief that technology, when harnessed properly, could be the ultimate tool in transforming human health. It wasn't just about fitness trackers or gym memberships, it was about creating a future where health was as personalized as the devices people carried in their pockets. WellTech would be the bridge that connected people with their bodies in a meaningful, actionable way. However, the road to success was not without its challenges. Despite the excitement surrounding the project, there were those who questioned whether a platform could really make that much of a difference in people's lives. Critics in the health industry were quick to argue that wellness was too complex to be reduced to an app, and that people needed more than just technology to make lasting changes in their health. The skepticism wasn't surprising to Musk. He had faced criticism and doubt before, whether in the early days of Tesla or when he first discussed the idea of SpaceX. But Musk didn't back down. He knew that real innovation often came from disrupting the status quo, and WellTech was no different. In an effort to prove WellTech's potential, Musk decided to launch a beta program. This would allow a select group of people to test the platform's features and provide feedback before its official release. The beta program attracted an unexpected mix of users, ranging from tech enthusiasts and fitness fanatics to those who had never before prioritized their health. They were all drawn to WellTech's promise of personalized care and convenience, and Musk hoped that their feedback would help refine the platform further. During the beta phase, Musk received a steady stream of feedback, much of it positive but some of it critical. The feedback came from all corners. Users praised the AI's ability to create customized health plans, while others pointed out that the platform could do more to make it easier to integrate the advice into their daily routines. There were also technical glitches, as expected with any new technology, but Musk and his team worked tirelessly to address these issues, improving the platform's user interface and ensuring that it was as intuitive and user-friendly as possible. As the beta program neared its conclusion, Musk began preparing for the official launch. The excitement surrounding the platform was palpable, and it wasn't just tech insiders who were eager to see it succeed. Everyday people were beginning to realize the potential impact WellTech could have on their lives. Musk had tapped into something fundamental, the desire to be healthier, to live longer, and to feel more in control of one's body. WellTech wasn't just a fitness tracker. It wasn't just a health advice app. It was a new way of approaching wellness, one that put the individual at the center of the equation and utilized technology to give them the tools they needed to succeed. From tracking sleep patterns to suggesting recipes based on individual dietary needs, the platform went beyond the basics to offer users an all-encompassing approach to their health. It even had features that supported mental well-being, like guided meditations and stress relief exercises, helping users take care of their minds as much as their bodies. When the official launch day finally arrived, it wasn't just another product release for Musk. This was a moment of personal significance. WellTech represented the culmination of his belief in holistic well-being, and it was a project that spoke to his own journey of finding balance in the chaos of life. The platform went live to global fanfare, with millions of users signing up within hours of the release. Within the first month, WellTech's user base grew exponentially, as people from around the world discovered the power of personalized wellness. The success of WellTech was not just measured by the number of users, though. It was also measured by the impact it had on people's lives. Early data showed that users were not only seeing improvements in their physical health but were also reporting higher levels of mental clarity, reduced stress, and better overall life satisfaction. Musk had tapped into something bigger than technology. He had created a movement that put people in control of their health in a way that had never been done before. As Musk watched WellTech flourish, he couldn't help but feel a deep sense of pride. This wasn't just about the next big tech venture. This was about changing lives. It was about empowering people to take charge of their health, to live better, and to thrive in a world where wellness had often been an afterthought. And for Musk, that was more satisfying than any product launch or breakthrough invention could ever be. As WellTech continued to grow, the scope of its potential became clearer by the day. Elon Musk had always believed that groundbreaking technology could change the world, but WellTech proved to be something even bigger. It was a movement. The platform was about more than just health. It was about creating a new paradigm for personal well-being, one that focused on long-term success rather than quick fixes or temporary solutions. WellTech's early adopters, from busy professionals and athletes to families and retirees, had all embraced the platform's innovative approach to wellness. It wasn't just for fitness enthusiasts, it was for everyone. The AI-driven health assistant became a trusted companion to people of all walks of life, guiding them through their daily routines, offering personalized advice, and even predicting health issues before they arose. In an era where people were often overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information on health, WellTech acted as a filter, giving people only what they needed to know, when they needed to know it. The impact was measurable. Studies showed that WellTech users had, on average, a 30% improvement in overall health within the first 6 months of use. Physical health metrics, including sleep quality, activity levels, and heart rate variability, showed significant improvements. Mental well-being also saw a boost, with many users reporting decreased stress levels and an increase in life satisfaction. For Musk, seeing these results was proof that the platform was doing more than just changing the way people thought about health, it was changing their lives in tangible, measurable ways. However, even with the widespread success, the journey wasn't without its obstacles. Musk quickly learned that bringing a new, innovative concept to market wasn't without its complexities. Despite the overwhelming success in North America and Europe, there were cultural and logistical challenges in other regions of the world. In some countries, the technology and infrastructure required for WellTech to operate at its full potential were lacking. In others, there was resistance to adopting a new form of wellness, particularly in areas where traditional healthcare models had been in place for generations. Musk's response to these challenges was consistent with his approach to all of his ventures: to innovate, adapt, and never stop pushing forward. WellTech's team began working closely with local governments, health agencies, and infrastructure experts to tailor the platform to fit the specific needs of different regions. This meant developing versions of WellTech that could work in areas with limited internet connectivity or less access to healthcare professionals. It also meant fostering partnerships with local health organizations to bridge the gap between modern wellness practices and more traditional approaches to healthcare. Despite the challenges, the platform's global reach continued to expand. WellTech wasn't just a tech product, it was quickly becoming a global health movement. Musk realized that this wasn't about conquering the market, it was about empowering people to take control of their health in a way that was previously unimaginable. He had succeeded in making wellness more accessible, personalized, and scalable than ever before, and he wasn't about to stop now. As WellTech began to take hold in various regions, Musk saw firsthand the differences it could make in people's lives. He received countless messages from users around the world, thanking him for creating something that not only improved their health but also changed their outlook on life. These personal stories were his reward. One user from a small town in South America wrote to him about how WellTech had helped her improve her nutrition, leading to a significant drop in her blood sugar levels and a healthier weight. A family in Asia shared how the platform helped them integrate fitness into their busy lives, with the AI assistant offering personalized workout routines that worked with their schedules. Even in regions where the platform had been slower to take off, Musk could see the potential for WellTech to transform lives, one person at a time. With WellTech's influence spreading rapidly, Musk turned his attention to the next stage of the platform's evolution. He began to realize that while the core AI system was powerful, there was even more potential to explore in terms of integration with wearable technology and biometric sensors. By expanding WellTech's capabilities to work with wearables like smartwatches and fitness trackers, the platform could gather even more precise data about users' health in real time. This would allow for even more accurate recommendations, enabling the platform to become even smarter and more responsive to the needs of its users. Musk wasn't content to simply rest on WellTech's success. Like every project he had undertaken before, he saw this as a stepping stone to something greater. The next step was to create an entirely new ecosystem, a wellness revolution that combined WellTech with other cutting-edge technologies, like biohacking and neurostimulation. He saw a future where people could use technology not just to optimize their physical health, but to enhance their mental capabilities, longevity, and even their emotional well-being. In order to take WellTech to the next level, Musk began to pour resources into research and development. He allocated millions of dollars to scientific studies and collaborations with top universities, all with the aim of finding new ways to use technology to optimize human health. He was particularly interested in the potential of gene editing, stem cell research, and AI-driven mental health interventions. With these tools, Musk believed that the possibilities were endless. It wasn't just about living longer, it was about living better, feeling better, and ultimately becoming the best version of oneself. As WellTech continued to dominate the global wellness space, Musk's vision of a healthier world began to take shape in ways he had never imagined. What had started as a simple solution for his own health struggles had blossomed into a global platform that was changing the way the world approached wellness. Musk's influence in this space was undeniable. He had taken the world of health and wellness and turned it upside down, just as he had done with electric vehicles, space travel, and artificial intelligence. But as his success grew, Musk was keenly aware that the fight wasn't over. The wellness revolution he had started needed to continue evolving. He needed to keep pushing the boundaries of what was possible, not just in terms of technology but in terms of societal impact. WellTech's success had already proven that people wanted more control over their health, but Musk knew that there were still millions, perhaps billions, of people who hadn't yet experienced the benefits of this new approach to wellness. And he wasn't going to stop until every single one of them had the opportunity to thrive. With WellTech's success and global reach, Elon Musk's focus began shifting toward a new frontier in health and wellness, neurotechnology. After years of leading innovations in AI, space exploration, and electric vehicles, Musk was now looking at the brain, the final frontier of human potential. As WellTech proved itself to be a game-changer in personal health, Musk saw an opportunity to push boundaries even further by exploring how technology could optimize not just physical health but cognitive function as well. His interest in neurotechnology wasn't entirely new. Musk had already ventured into this space with Neuralink, a company he founded with the goal of developing brain-machine interfaces to treat neurological disorders and eventually augment human cognition. But as he watched WellTech's growth and the profound impact it had on people's lives, Musk began to see a way to integrate the two ventures, WellTech's AI-driven wellness platform with Neuralink's neurotechnology, to create an unprecedented system for human optimization. The idea was ambitious, even by Musk's standards. Imagine a world where WellTech users could not only track their physical health but also monitor their brain activity in real time. What if the platform could detect early signs of cognitive decline, emotional stress, or mental fatigue and suggest interventions tailored to enhance mental clarity, boost creativity, and even optimize decision-making? Musk called it the mind-body integration. It was a future where your body's physical well-being and your brain's cognitive health were treated as a unified whole, where WellTech could not only recommend physical exercise routines but also integrate neurotechnological advancements to help users reach peak mental performance. The first step was the integration of a neuromonitoring system that could sync with the WellTech platform. While the idea of tracking brain activity wasn't new, Musk's vision went beyond simple sleep trackers or mental health apps that merely measured mood. He wanted real-time neuromonitoring that could provide actionable insights, tailored to the user's specific cognitive needs. Whether the user was struggling with focus, memory, anxiety, or even a simple lack of motivation, WellTech would act as a personal guide, offering exercises, dietary adjustments, and behavioral suggestions designed to improve cognitive function. The technical challenges of integrating such advanced neurotechnology into WellTech were immense. Neuralink's neural interfaces, which were still in early-stage trials, needed to be scaled and refined before they could be used by the general public. But Musk's confidence in his team, coupled with his decades of experience in overcoming seemingly insurmountable obstacles, kept him pushing forward. He enlisted top neuroscientists, AI specialists, and engineers to work on this new chapter, bringing together the brightest minds in the field to create what he envisioned as the future of human potential. As the development progressed, Musk made it clear that the goal wasn't to control or manipulate the brain, but rather to enhance its natural capabilities. He wanted WellTech to help people unlock their full cognitive potential, much like it had done for their physical health. The key was a combination of personalized neurofeedback, advanced AI-driven analytics, and a deep understanding of individual brain patterns. But while the tech development was ongoing, Musk faced another challenge: public skepticism. Even with WellTech's proven success in transforming physical health, the integration of neurotechnology into the platform raised significant concerns. Critics questioned the ethics of brain-machine interfaces and whether users would be able to handle such intimate access to their cognitive functions. Privacy and security were also hot-button issues. With so much personal data being generated through WellTech, Musk knew that any integration with Neuralink's technology would have to be handled with the utmost care and transparency. In response to these concerns, Musk took a bold step: he opened the door to public dialogue. Through a series of open forums, public talks, and interviews, Musk began addressing the challenges and risks associated with the integration of neurotechnology into the WellTech platform. He emphasized the importance of consent, user control, and the security of personal data. "We're not trying to control the mind, but help unlock its potential," Musk said during one public appearance. "Our goal is to make people healthier in every way, including mentally." As the months passed, Musk's commitment to transparency and ethical use of neurotechnology began to win over many critics. Though there were still some who questioned the concept, a growing number of people were intrigued by the idea of using technology to enhance their mental health and cognitive abilities. For Musk, this was proof that he was on the right path, that the world was ready for a revolution not just in physical health, but in mental well-being. Finally, after years of research, testing, and refinement, WellTech's new neuro-integrated platform was ready for its first wave of beta testing. The new features included real-time cognitive monitoring, personalized brain training exercises, and neurofeedback loops that could optimize mental focus, memory retention, and emotional regulation. Users would be able to wear a small, unobtrusive headband that would track their brainwaves, allowing the AI system to offer real-time recommendations to improve their mental state. The beta testing phase was closely monitored. Musk himself was eager to hear the feedback from users who would be the first to experience the technology. He knew that the integration of neurotech into WellTech was not just a technical achievement, it was a fundamental shift in how people thought about their own brains and cognitive health. The results of the beta tests were nothing short of astonishing. Users reported increased mental clarity, improved emotional regulation, and even heightened creativity. Many of them found that their anxiety levels decreased significantly, while others noticed an improvement in their ability to focus for longer periods of time. Some users also reported enhanced sleep quality, with the neurofeedback from WellTech helping them fall into deeper, more restorative sleep. For Musk, the success of the beta program validated his vision, that WellTech could not only transform physical health but also unlock new dimensions of human potential. With the combination of physical wellness and cognitive optimization, WellTech had the potential to redefine the human experience. But this was only the beginning. Musk's long-term vision for WellTech was nothing short of extraordinary. He envisioned a future where everyone, regardless of their background or resources, had access to the tools they needed to reach their peak physical and mental state. He envisioned a world where wellness wasn't just a luxury for the privileged few but a fundamental right for everyone. As the neurotechnology features were rolled out to a wider audience, the impact was clear. WellTech was not just a wellness platform anymore, it was a force of transformation, merging the mind and body into one seamless experience of human potential. Elon Musk had once again set his sights on a seemingly impossible goal, and with his relentless drive, he had made it a reality. As the buzz surrounding WellTech's integration of neurotechnology grew, so did the challenges Musk and his team faced. The promises of improving cognitive abilities, enhancing emotional well-being, and fine-tuning mental focus were undeniably alluring, but the reality of integrating such a complex technology into everyday life wasn't as seamless as Musk had hoped. Despite the progress and successes in the beta testing phase, several critical issues arose that threatened to derail the project and delay the grand vision Musk had meticulously crafted. For one, the headbands designed to monitor brainwaves and deliver neurofeedback proved to be more difficult to implement than anticipated. While they worked for many users, others struggled with the device's comfort, accuracy, and long-term usability. Some users found that the sensors would occasionally lose track of their brain activity, leading to disrupted feedback loops and inaccurate recommendations. Others reported feeling disoriented or even anxious during the neurofeedback sessions, a side effect that Musk hadn't fully predicted. Musk's natural instinct to push forward and tackle any obstacle head-on came into play. He didn't shy away from acknowledging these setbacks. He was transparent about the challenges the team faced and reassured the public that they were working relentlessly to improve the technology. Musk was known for his tenacity, and this situation was no different. He was determined to get WellTech's neurointegration right, no matter how many iterations it would take. In the face of these obstacles, Musk and his engineering team went back to the drawing board. They began collaborating with experts in neuroscience and neurofeedback to find solutions to the problems users were encountering. The focus was on refining the headband sensors, ensuring they could more accurately detect brainwaves in various environments, and improving the comfort of the device for extended wear. Musk also began to consider new ways to deliver neurofeedback. While the headband was a start, he realized it might not be the best long-term solution. He set his sights on a more ambitious concept, a non-invasive neural interface that could be worn as part of a regular wellness routine, seamlessly integrating into users' daily lives without any discomfort or invasiveness. It was a lofty goal, but Musk had always believed in dreaming big, and with his background in disruptive innovation, he knew that success was often achieved by thinking beyond the conventional. One critical breakthrough came when Musk's team began working on more advanced machine learning algorithms for the platform. With these enhanced algorithms, WellTech could adapt in real time to the unique brain patterns of each user, making neurofeedback more personalized and accurate. Instead of relying solely on the brainwave sensors, the system began factoring in other data points such as stress levels, sleep quality, and even heart rate variability, allowing it to offer more targeted interventions for cognitive improvement. This allowed the system to be more adaptable, giving users a more precise experience tailored to their individual needs. But the real breakthrough came when Musk pushed WellTech into an entirely new direction, an AI-assisted neural adaptation system. Rather than just relying on passive neurofeedback, WellTech's system started actively assisting the brain's natural neuroplasticity. Through subtle brain stimulation and synchronized feedback loops, the platform now encouraged cognitive improvement through targeted exercises designed to reshape neural pathways. This process, which was similar to the concept of brain training, would ultimately allow users to enhance their mental agility, improve memory recall, and increase emotional resilience. While Musk was excited by these breakthroughs, he knew that these innovations would not be easily accepted by the public. He anticipated that many would still have concerns about the safety and ethics of such technology. With every major leap forward came an increased level of scrutiny. Musk, however, remained confident in the ethical framework he had built around WellTech's development. He believed that the benefits of cognitive optimization far outweighed the risks, as long as the technology was used responsibly. To alleviate public concerns, Musk made sure to engage with a variety of stakeholders, medical experts, ethicists, neuroscientists, and even users who had tested the new system, to ensure that all perspectives were considered in the development process. Transparent communication became a key strategy to regain trust and build excitement for the future of WellTech. He also ensured that users would have full control over how their brain data was used, and that any intervention offered by WellTech would be strictly optional. Despite the hurdles, Musk's resilience paid off. Over time, the new neurofeedback system started producing tangible results. Early adopters of the refined platform reported significant improvements in cognitive function. Users shared stories of how their focus had sharpened, their memory had improved, and their mood had become more stable. Many claimed they were able to handle stress better and make clearer, more decisive choices in their personal and professional lives. Musk was thrilled to see how WellTech was shaping lives, not just physically but mentally as well. One user from a busy tech startup shared how WellTech's brain training exercises helped him combat chronic stress. "I used to feel like my brain was constantly foggy, but after using WellTech, it's like my thoughts are clearer. I can focus on my work for hours without feeling drained," he wrote in a glowing testimonial. Another user, a student preparing for medical school exams, shared how WellTech's cognitive exercises helped her retain more information in less time, leading to improved performance in her studies. These success stories provided the validation Musk had been hoping for. As more users experienced the benefits of WellTech's neuro-integrated features, the demand for the platform surged. The pressure was on to continue refining the product, expanding its capabilities, and ensuring that the next phase of WellTech's journey would be just as revolutionary as its physical health solutions had been. Despite the hurdles, the road to perfecting WellTech's neurointegration also revealed something deeper about Musk's philosophy: failure was simply another opportunity to learn, adapt, and grow. The setbacks weren't roadblocks, but stepping stones in the pursuit of greatness. Musk understood that true innovation required continuous iteration and that the path to success was rarely linear. And just as Musk had done with his other ventures, SpaceX, Tesla, and Neuralink, he applied the same relentless pursuit of excellence to WellTech. Each setback was a lesson, each failure a chance to refine the technology, and each success a testament to the power of pushing boundaries and never settling for good enough. With WellTech's neurointegration becoming more refined, Musk began to set his sights on a broader goal: to make cognitive optimization a mainstream reality. The technology wasn't just for elite athletes or busy executives anymore, it was for everyone. Musk's vision was for a world where every person had the tools to optimize their brain, improve their mental health, and unlock their full potential. But as the stakes got higher, Musk knew that the road ahead would only get more challenging. The world was watching, and every step WellTech took would be scrutinized. But as always, Musk was ready. The setbacks only fueled his determination to finish what he had started. As WellTech's neurointegration gained traction, it became clear that Elon Musk had not only succeeded in transforming physical wellness but was now on the verge of reshaping the way humanity viewed the mind. With its AI-driven cognitive optimization and neurofeedback capabilities, WellTech was empowering individuals to reach new mental heights, enhancing focus, creativity, memory retention, and emotional regulation. The demand for this cutting-edge technology soared as users from all walks of life began to embrace the idea of taking control of their cognitive abilities. Yet, amid the excitement and unprecedented success, an unsettling conversation began to surface. What started as a whisper grew into a roar. Was it ethical to enhance the human mind with such advanced technology? As more people began using the platform, questions about privacy, autonomy, and potential misuse were raised. Critics worried that by integrating neurotechnology into the human experience, society could unintentionally create new divides, leading to inequality and further exacerbating existing societal problems. Musk, true to his nature, didn't shy away from these concerns. He welcomed them. He saw them as essential questions, questions that needed answers if WellTech were to be a truly transformative force for good. But as always, he approached the issue from an unflinching belief in the greater good. He believed that the benefits of cognitive optimization far outweighed the potential risks. Still, Musk knew that in order for WellTech to achieve its full potential, it had to navigate the ethical complexities carefully, with transparency and responsibility. The debate was multifaceted. Some critics voiced concerns that WellTech's neurointegration could be a step toward the commodification of cognitive enhancement, creating a world where only the wealthy could afford to enhance their minds. Others questioned whether WellTech's influence over users' thoughts, emotions, and behavior could cross a line into manipulation. Could the platform, for example, inadvertently encourage over-optimization, pushing people to constantly strive for perfection in ways that could have detrimental effects on their mental health? To address these concerns, Musk doubled down on his commitment to transparency. He began hosting public forums, collaborating with ethicists, neuroscientists, and philosophers, and establishing a robust code of ethics for the use of WellTech. He acknowledged that while neurotechnology had immense potential to improve lives, it also came with significant responsibilities. Musk's message was clear. The goal was not to create a perfect, standardized mind, but to give individuals the tools they needed to reach their full cognitive potential in a way that was ethical, inclusive, and respectful of autonomy. One of the central tenets of WellTech's ethical framework became the principle of user control. Musk insisted that users must always have full autonomy over their neurofeedback experiences, including the ability to opt out of specific exercises or interventions at any time. The mind is sacred, Musk stated in one of his public addresses. We are not here to control the mind but to help it evolve. The individual must always remain in control. In response to concerns about the potential misuse of WellTech's technology, Musk also established stringent privacy protections. Users' data would never be sold to third parties, and all cognitive data collected through the platform would remain private, with access granted only by the user. Additionally, WellTech's neurofeedback system would be designed with the utmost sensitivity to user preferences, avoiding any invasive or coercive practices. While Musk's reassurances helped ease some of the public's fears, the concerns around cognitive enhancement remained. One of the most vocal critics was Dr. Emily Harper, a renowned neuroscientist and ethicist who had long advocated for the ethical boundaries of neurotechnology. Dr. Harper had been initially intrigued by the potential of WellTech's system but had grown increasingly wary of its power. In the right hands, this technology could be transformative, Dr. Harper said in an interview. But we must tread carefully. We are talking about altering the very fabric of what it means to be human. What happens when people start using neurotechnology to change not just their cognitive abilities, but their very identities? Her words sparked a heated debate, with some agreeing that cognitive enhancement could lead to an erosion of individuality and the potential for neural conformity. Others, however, felt that Dr. Harper's warnings were exaggerated, that cognitive optimization could be used to empower individuals, not control them. To Musk, the answer was clear: the future of WellTech lay in responsible innovation, where technology would never dictate the path of human development but would instead serve as a tool for individuals to choose their own paths. Musk's personal philosophy on the matter was rooted in his unwavering belief in human freedom. We're not in the business of making people better at being someone else, Musk argued during a public discussion. We're helping them become the best versions of themselves. The goal is to unlock potential, not create a homogeneous society where everyone thinks and feels the same. As Musk engaged with critics, his response was also shaped by a desire to maintain the integrity of WellTech's mission. The platform was never intended to be a panacea for all human shortcomings but rather a set of tools for personal growth. Musk reiterated that WellTech's integration of neurotechnology wasn't about offering a shortcut to success or happiness. It was about giving people the opportunity to optimize their minds in a way that was aligned with their personal values and goals. But beyond the concerns about ethics and control, Musk also had to face the question of accessibility. While the platform's technology had the power to transform lives, many feared that it would remain out of reach for the average person. Cognitive enhancement, after all, had traditionally been the domain of the wealthy and elite. Would WellTech follow this same trajectory, or could Musk ensure that the benefits of cognitive optimization were available to everyone? Musk, once again, took a bold stance. His answer was simple: he was determined to make WellTech accessible to all. This technology has the power to change the world, but it can't just be a tool for the rich and powerful, Musk declared. We are working on ways to make WellTech affordable and accessible to as many people as possible. We want everyone to have the chance to unlock their full cognitive potential, regardless of their financial situation. In response, WellTech began exploring partnerships with non-profit organizations, healthcare providers, and educational institutions to provide subsidized access to its platform for low-income communities. Additionally, Musk initiated research into making the neurotechnology more cost-effective, working with engineers to reduce the cost of the hardware while still maintaining the high quality and precision needed for accurate brain monitoring. Though the road ahead was filled with uncertainty and moral complexity, Elon Musk's vision for WellTech remained steadfast. He believed that cognitive optimization wasn't just a tool for personal success, it was a means of improving society as a whole. By unlocking human potential, Musk believed that individuals could contribute to solving the world's most pressing problems, whether it was through advancing science, creating art, or addressing global challenges. Musk knew that the future of WellTech was not just about the technology itself, but about the culture of responsibility and integrity that he would build around it. As he continued to push the boundaries of human potential, Musk was committed to ensuring that his innovations would always serve humanity's highest ideals. As WellTech systems evolved, pushing the boundaries of cognitive optimization, the world watched with bated breath. What had started as a bold vision for human enhancement now stood on the precipice of becoming a global revolution. Elon Musk's relentless pursuit of innovation had birthed a product that promised to redefine the human experience, but there was one final, monumental test left. Would the world truly be ready to embrace neurotechnology on a mass scale? And more importantly, could WellTech deliver on its promise of cognitive optimization without compromising ethical integrity or personal autonomy? The pressure was immense. Despite the breakthroughs in neurofeedback, the ethical frameworks Musk had carefully constructed, and the public's growing enthusiasm, doubts still lingered. Even Musk himself wasn't certain whether the technology could live up to the lofty expectations he had set. Every project he had embarked on, SpaceX, Tesla, Neuralink, had involved an element of risk, but none more significant than this. The integration of neurotechnology wasn't just a business venture. It was a vision of the future of humanity itself. Musk had never been one to shy away from risk. He knew that taking bold steps was what had gotten him to where he was, and now, the biggest challenge was about to unfold. The time had come for a grand public demonstration, one that would prove once and for all whether WellTech could change the course of human evolution. It wasn't just about a launch event or a product reveal. This was a test of humanity's willingness to embrace an unprecedented shift in how we approached our minds and our mental health. The event was set for a quiet Friday morning, streamed live from WellTech's headquarters in Silicon Valley. Invitations had been sent to global leaders, investors, and the most influential figures in the world of technology, science, and healthcare. But what Musk had planned was something entirely different, a test, not of the technology alone, but of its capacity to change lives in real time. In front of a packed auditorium and millions of viewers watching online, Musk stood on stage with a calm intensity. Beside him was a group of volunteers, individuals who had been using WellTech's neurointegration technology in various ways, students, executives, athletes, and creatives. Each volunteer had agreed to participate in a live demonstration of WellTech's cognitive optimization. Musk addressed the audience, his usual confidence tempered by the magnitude of the moment. Today, we stand at the cusp of something truly extraordinary. WellTech is not just a product. It is a glimpse into a future where each of us has the tools to unlock our full cognitive potential. This is the next frontier of human evolution. The tension in the room was palpable. The volunteers, connected to the WellTech platform, sat quietly on stage, each equipped with the neurofeedback headbands. Musk's team had prepared the system to run real-time diagnostics on the volunteers' brain activity, monitoring their cognitive responses to various challenges that would test their focus, memory, creativity, and emotional regulation. The first test was a mental focus exercise, where the volunteers were asked to concentrate on a series of complex mathematical problems displayed on screens before them. As they worked through the problems, the system provided neurofeedback, adjusting the difficulty in real time to push their cognitive abilities to their limits. The results were remarkable. Within moments, the volunteers' focus and problem-solving abilities improved dramatically. As they progressed through the problems, their brainwaves showed a distinct pattern of neural optimization, the exact response WellTech had designed the system to cultivate. The technology wasn't simply enhancing performance. It was unlocking a hidden potential, enabling these individuals to tackle challenges with more efficiency and clarity. Next, Musk moved the demonstration to the realm of creativity. Volunteers were tasked with brainstorming solutions for a fictional problem: how to reduce global plastic waste. The system encouraged divergent thinking by offering personalized prompts and subtle neurostimulation to help the volunteers think outside the box. As the volunteers worked, it became clear that the technology was doing something extraordinary. Ideas flowed faster, more creatively, and with greater depth than expected. Each volunteer had a unique approach, yet all were demonstrating a heightened ability to think innovatively and critically. They were tapping into an enhanced state of cognitive flow, a concept Musk had long believed was at the heart of human potential. The final segment of the demonstration was perhaps the most emotional. Musk wanted to show how WellTech could help regulate emotional states, something that could change lives for millions of people struggling with stress, anxiety, and depression. Volunteers were asked to confront an emotionally charged challenge, a simulated stressful situation designed to trigger feelings of anxiety and self-doubt. The system, in real time, adjusted the neurofeedback to help the volunteers manage and reduce their stress. What happened next was nothing short of astounding. As the volunteers were exposed to the stressful situation, their physiological responses, heart rate, cortisol levels, and brain activity, showed rapid improvement as they received the neurofeedback. Within minutes, they were able to regain composure, shifting their emotional state back into calmness and focus. The live audience watched as one of the volunteers, a woman who had struggled with anxiety for years, visibly relaxed as her stress levels dropped. This is not just about making people smarter or more productive, Musk explained as the demonstration concluded. This is about empowering people to live healthier, happier lives, mentally and emotionally. This is about human potential. This is about freedom. The crowd erupted in applause. The live demonstration had not only proven that WellTech's technology worked, it had shown that it could change lives in profound ways. Volunteers were able to unlock new cognitive abilities, think more creatively, and regulate their emotions. But more importantly, the demonstration had proven something even more critical, that WellTech's technology was ready for the world. As Musk stepped off the stage, he felt a wave of relief wash over him. It had worked. The technology that he had poured so much of his time, energy, and resources into had passed the ultimate test. The world had seen the potential of cognitive optimization, and it was clear that the future of human evolution was within reach. But even as the applause continued, Musk knew that this was only the beginning. The challenges ahead, scaling the technology, ensuring accessibility, and maintaining ethical standards, were monumental. Yet, for the first time in his life, Musk felt an overwhelming sense of possibility. WellTech wasn't just a product. It was a movement that would empower individuals, redefine human potential, and change the course of history. And with that, Musk made a promise to himself: the journey was far from over. The real work was just beginning. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?